Kody Brown just dropped over $2 million on what he's calling a fresh start. But let's be real, this isn't about starting over. This is about a desperate father trying to buy back the love of children who want absolutely nothing to do with him. The sister wives patriarch and his only remaining wife, Robyn, recently purchased a massive 7,884 square foot Arizona mansion, complete with 6 bedrooms, a guest house, and a detached RV garage. Sounds impressive, right? Well, here's the kicker. Kody genuinely believes that if he builds it, they will come. Spoiler alert, they won't. During a recent episode that aired in October, Kody laid out his grand vision with an almost heartbreaking level of delusion. He described the property as, quote, a new beginning, and insisted it's meant to be, quote, a place for my kids to come to. The father of 18 went on to explain how there are, quote, a lot of strained relationships amongst me and my adult children, and he sees this house as a golden opportunity to invite them over and potentially enjoy their company. Notice that word, potentially. Even Kody himself doesn't sound convinced this plan will actually work. But let's talk about what Kody's really running from. The previous Flagstaff home, which they sold for $1.7 million, held nothing but painful memories for the family. That's where Kody endured the separations from his former spiritual wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine. That's where the family battled through COVID restrictions that tore them apart. And most devastatingly, that's where Kody received the news of his son Garrison's passing in March 2024. The patriarch admitted that the house had, quote, pain in it, and described being in a, quote, deep depression, while the divorces were happening and the family was falling apart around him. So naturally, Kody's solution is to throw money at the problem. Rather than doing the hard work of genuine reconciliation, accountability, and showing up for his children, he's banking on square footage and amenities to magically repair nearly 2 decades worth of damage. He even made sure to include a room for his daughter Truly, though insiders note it's described as a room that's, quote, sort of like her room rather than actually being her dedicated space. Even in his grand gesture, Kody can't fully commit. The reality that Kody refuses to face is absolutely brutal. With the exception of Robyn's 3 eldest children, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, the 56-year-old reality star is estranged from the vast majority of his adult children. Reports confirm he hasn't seen some of his grandchildren in over 3 years. He's been uninvited from family gatherings, and perhaps most telling of all, when his children were asked about the new house, their reactions ranged from complete indifference to outright scorn. But Kody keeps clinging to his fantasy. He keeps believing that a bigger kitchen, more bedrooms, and a fresh coat of paint will somehow erase years of neglect, favoritism, and broken promises. What he doesn't understand is that his children aren't looking for a house to visit. They're looking for a father who actually shows up. If Kody thought any of his children might give him a second chance, Madison Brush just slammed that door shut and threw away the key. Janelle's second oldest daughter has completely and utterly written off both Kody and Robyn, and according to multiple sources, she's not backing down anytime soon. During the season premiere that aired in September, Janelle dropped the bombshell that's been whispered about in royal family circles for months. Quote, I know that Maddie has not had any conversations with her dad, Janelle revealed in a confessional. Quote, he's not called, she's not called him, and she doesn't have any relationship with Robyn. She's pretty much written them both off. Let that sink in for a moment. Madison, who once had what appeared to be a decent relationship with her father, has gone full no contact. Not a single phone call, not a text message, complete radio silence. And it gets even more devastating when you understand why. Janelle explains that the core issue revolves around Kody's relationship with Madison's 3 children, Axel, Evangeline, and Josephine. Madison watched her father attempt these half-hearted, sporadic visits with her kids, and she finally put her foot down. Quote, she doesn't really want him to have any contact unless he can commit to it, Janelle shared, adding that Madison has been, quote, mama bear to the extreme. Here's where the betrayal cuts even deeper. Kody hasn't seen Madison's children in over 3 years. 3 years! These are his own grandchildren, and he can't even be bothered to maintain consistent contact. Word on the street suggests that when the Brown family started to really dissolve following his separations from Mary, Janelle, and Christine, Kody, quote, did sort of cut off communication with Madison and her husband, Caleb Brush. He just stopped trying. And Madison noticed every single missed call that never came, every birthday that passed without acknowledgement, every milestone her children reached that their grandfather knew nothing about. But the situation gets even messier when you look at what Kody said about Madison during previous seasons. The father of 18 actually had the audacity to label his own daughter a, quote, gossip on national television. Mykelti, Madison's sister, called out how devastating that was during a fan question and answer session. Quote, when you put things out there on the show like this, there's no taking it back, Mykelti explained. Quote, when he puts things on the show like this, you're screwed. Maddie has seen this episode now. Maddie's pissed. That door is slammed, locked, and it will be slammed forever unless he makes a statement on the show and condemns what he said. That door isn't just locked. According to those close to the family, Madison has essentially thrown away the key and changed the entire security system. She's done playing games with a father who treats her children like optional add-ons to his life, rather than precious grandchildren deserving of consistent love and attention. And honestly, can anyone blame her? When you're a mother watching your own father repeatedly disappoint your children, at some point you have to protect them from that pain. Gabriel Brown's story is the kind of heartbreak that no child should ever have to experience. And when he finally opened up about what shattered his relationship with Kody forever, viewers were left absolutely devastated. This wasn't some dramatic blowout fight or a series of escalating arguments. No, this was something far more painful. This was the quiet, crushing realization that your own father doesn't even remember your birthday. And the way it all unfolded is enough to make anyone's blood boil. Let's set the scene. Back in January, Gabriel contracted COVID. It wasn't even a severe case. He didn't run a fever, didn't end up in the hospital. He just lost his sense of smell and rode it out like millions of other people did during the pandemic. Fast forward to October 11th, Gabriel's birthday. His phone rings and it's his dad. For just a moment, maybe Gabriel felt a flicker of hope. Maybe his father was calling to wish him a happy birthday, to check in, to show that he cared. But no, Kody had one thing on his mind, and it wasn't his son's special day. Gabriel recounted the devastating moment during an emotional confessional that had him visibly fighting back tears. Quote, "October rolls around, specifically October 11th, my birthday, and Dad calls me and we have a small discussion about how bad my COVID was," he explained. Here's where it gets absolutely gut-wrenching. Gabriel made a conscious decision not to remind his father that it was his birthday. Why? Because he wanted to see if Kody would remember on his own. He wanted to believe that somewhere in his father's mind, his birthday mattered enough to be remembered without prompting. Quote, "I shouldn't have done this, but I did anyway. I didn't remind him that it was my birthday because I wanted to see if he remembered and he didn't," Gabriel shared, his voice thick with emotion. Think about what that means for a second. Gabriel was essentially testing whether he mattered to his father, and he failed that test spectacularly. For Kody, it was just another phone call about COVID symptoms. For Gabriel, it was the moment that confirmed his worst fears about where he stood in his father's life. Quote, "It was just a phone call for him, but it was a lot worse for me," Gabriel admitted. The pain in those words is absolutely palpable. Now, Kody did eventually realize his massive screw-up. He called Gabriel back later to wish him a happy birthday and try to make amends. But by that point, the damage was catastrophically done. Gabriel had his answer. His birthday, his existence, his place in his father's life, none of it was important enough to warrant remembering without a reminder. Quote, "He tried to call me back, tell me happy birthday, and make up for it. And that's the last time I ever talked to my dad," Gabriel revealed. That birthday phone call wasn't just a forgotten date. It was the final confirmation that Gabriel simply didn't matter enough. And here's what makes this even more infuriating. This wasn't happening in a vacuum. Gabriel had already been watching his father prioritize Robyn and her children for years. He'd witnessed the favoritism, the double standards, the way Kody would bend over backwards for some kids while treating others as afterthoughts. The forgotten birthday was simply the breaking point, the moment when Gabriel decided he deserved better than begging for scraps of his father's attention. Sources close to the family reveal that Gabriel hasn't wavered in his decision. He's done. And that door isn't opening again anytime soon. Christine's only son, Kody Brown, just dropped a revelation that has fans absolutely reeling, and it involves one of the most sacred and painful moments in the Brown family's recent history. Garrison Brown's funeral in March 2024 should have been a time for the family to come together in grief, to support one another through an unimaginable tragedy. Instead, it became the final breaking point between Kody and his father, and what went down at that funeral? Well, Kody's staying tight-lipped about the details, but what he has revealed is explosive enough to paint a pretty devastating picture. During a recent live stream on TikTok, Kody opened up to fans who kept asking the same question over and over. Do you talk to your dad? Do you have a relationship with Kody? The answer came swift and definitive. Quote, "The last time I talked to him was a while ago," Kody stated bluntly. But then he dropped the real bombshell that had everyone's jaws on the floor. Quote, "The last time I had a physical conversation with him was at the funeral. Not gonna talk about that because it didn't go the way it could have gone." Let that statement marinate for a second. At his own brother's funeral, during what should have been a moment of family unity in the face of devastating loss, something went down between Kody and Kody that was so bad, so painful, that Kody refuses to elaborate on it publicly. The YouTube channel Without a Crystal Ball shared clips from Kody's live session, and fans immediately started speculating about what could have possibly happened. Was there a confrontation? Did Kody say something unforgivable? Did Paydon finally let loose all the anger and resentment he'd been holding on to for years? Whatever transpired, it was clearly intense enough that Paydon considers it the definitive end of any potential relationship with his father. What makes this even more heartbreaking is understanding the context. Garrison's death was an absolute tragedy that shook the entire Brown family to its core. Janelle later revealed to police that she regretted not getting Garrison help in the past, acknowledging that he'd been struggling with mental health issues and drinking problems. Gabriel, Garrison's brother and roommate, had reported concerns about Garrison's well-being. The entire family was dealing with grief, guilt, and the crushing weight of what-ifs. And somehow, in the middle of all that pain, Kody still managed to alienate yet another one of his sons. Paydon hasn't been shy about his feelings toward his father in the months since that funeral. He's taken to social media multiple times to express his complete disinterest in maintaining any kind of stable relationship with Kody. When asked directly if he'd hate talking to his father again, Paydon's response was telling. He didn't say yes, but he certainly didn't express any desire to reconcile either. Insiders close to the family suggest that Paydon views the possibility of rebuilding their father-son bond as basically zero. Not unlikely, not difficult, zero. And honestly, who can blame him? Paydon spent years watching Kody treat his mother Christine like an afterthought. He witnessed the favoritism toward Robyn and her children firsthand. He saw his father skip important events, break promises, and prioritize one segment of the family over everyone else. The funeral was simply the final straw, the moment when whatever thin thread still connected father and son finally snapped completely. Sources say that Paydon has made peace with the fact that Kody will likely never be the father he needed, and he's chosen to move forward without him. Here's where Kody's entire reconciliation plan completely falls apart, and it all comes down to one non-negotiable condition that his children simply refuse to accept. Kody Brown has made it crystal clear that he will not, under any circumstances, distance himself from Robyn to repair his relationships with his estranged children. And that ultimatum, it's the deal breaker that's keeping an entire generation of Brown kids at arm's length. During a jaw-dropping episode that aired in January 2025, Kody laid out his terms in a way that left absolutely no room for interpretation. He stated flat out that he would, quote, not cut off Robyn, quote, to have a relationship with my children. Let's break down what that really means. Kody is essentially telling his kids that if they want a relationship with him, they have to accept Robyn as part of the package deal. No negotiations, no compromises, no conversations where it's just father and child without Robyn's presence or influence hovering in the background. And for children who have watched their father prioritize Robyn over literally everyone else for more than a decade, that condition is absolutely unacceptable. They've seen how Kody showered Robyn's household with attention, resources, and time, while their own mothers and siblings got whatever scraps were left over. They're not about to sign up for more of that treatment. Janelle pulled absolutely no punches when discussing this reality during confessional interviews. She confirmed what fans have suspected for years, revealing that Kody is alienated from, quote, 90 to 95% of his children. 90 to 95%. That's not a couple of problem kids who refuse to see reason. That's an overwhelming majority of his 18 children who have looked at the situation and decided they want nothing to do with their father. And according to Janelle, Kody isn't even wanted at family events anymore. Quote, he's not coming regardless of who he brings or doesn't bring with him, she stated bluntly. But here's what makes Kody's position even more infuriating. He genuinely believes that his children would welcome him back with open arms if he just left Robyn at home. During a December episode, Kody actually lamented the situation with a perspective that showed zero self-awareness. Quote, I've got this whole other side of the family that have decided that they're still a family and we're out, he complained. Quote, now they'll let me in that club as long as I leave Robyn behind. I can't do that. Notice how he's framing himself and Robyn as the victims here, as if his children are the ones being unreasonable by not wanting to pretend that years of favoritism and neglect never happened. The truth that Kody refuses to acknowledge is that his children don't just have a problem with Robyn's presence. They have a problem with how Kody fundamentally changed when Robyn entered the family. Christine's kids watched their father become completely enamored with his newest wife, describing how they saw that Kody and Robyn were, quote, a couple, while he wasn't really present in their own homes. Janelle's children witnessed their father cancel visits, forget birthdays, and essentially check out of their lives while remaining fully engaged with Robyn's household. The issue isn't just Robyn herself, it's what Kody became when he was with her. And now Kody wants his children to just accept that dynamic, to welcome both him and Robyn into their lives, as if the past decade plus of pain and favoritism never happened. Sources close to the family say that's never going to happen. The kids have drawn their line in the sand, and they're not budging. They've told Kody through their actions, if not their their words that if he wants a relationship with them, he needs to show up as their father first, not as Robyn's husband who happens to have other children. Mykelti Padron tried harder than almost any of Kody's other children to keep the relationship alive, and watching her finally give up is absolutely devastating. For years, Christine's daughter remained one of the few kids who openly attempted to maintain some kind of connection with both Kody and Robyn. She defended her father when others criticized him. She invited them to family events. She kept the door open even when she had every reason to slam it shut. But in July 2024, when Mykelti and her husband Tony packed up their lives to move from Utah to North Carolina with their 3 young children, daughter Avalon and twin sons Ace and Archer, she made one simple request. Just come see us before we leave. One last visit, one final goodbye, and Kody couldn't even manage that. The whole situation unfolded during an episode that aired in October, and watching Mykelti process the rejection was absolutely heartbreaking. While packing up her home with her mother Christine by her side, Mykelti admitted what everyone already knew but nobody wanted to say out loud. Quote, "I told Dad he should come up and see us before we leave, and it didn't happen. It is what it is," she stated with a resignation that spoke volumes. That phrase, "it is what it is," carries so much pain when you really think about it. It's the sound of someone who's finally accepted that their father will always disappoint them, that hoping for more is just setting yourself up for hurt. But wait, because Kody had his own version of events, and it's exactly the kind of excuse you'd expect from someone who refuses to take accountability. During his own confessional interview, Kody insisted that he and Robyn absolutely tried to meet up with Mykelti, Tony, and their kids before the big move. According to him, it was all just unfortunate timing and miscommunication. Quote, "We just were never able to make the contact," he claimed, as if scheduling a visit to see your daughter before she moves across the country is some impossible logistical nightmare, as if picking up the phone and making it happen is somehow beyond the capabilities of a grown man. Christine saw right through that excuse, and she didn't hold back when discussing the reality of Mykelti's deteriorating relationship with her father. Quote, "The relationship with them is just not what Mykelti hoped it would be," Christine revealed during the October 5th episode, and that statement carries so much weight because Mykelti genuinely tried. She wasn't one of the kids who cut Kody off at the first sign of trouble. She gave him chance after chance after chance. She wanted to believe that her father would show up for her and her children. She wanted to believe that she mattered enough. But here's where it gets even more painful. During a fan question and answer session in October 2024, Mykelti opened up about what it would actually take for Kody to repair relationships with his children. Her answer was simple but powerful. Quote, "I think that if he took more accountability in any of his actions, his kids, maybe not all of them, but at least some of them would reach out," she explained. Quote, "Instead of blaming the children or blaming how they feel about his relationship with his other wife, or blaming the parents or blaming gossip or whatever, if he just said, 'Look, I understand I did blank wrong, I'm sorry, can we talk about it?' I feel like that would go such a long way." Notice what Mykelti's asking for here. She's not demanding grand gestures or expensive gifts or dramatic displays of affection. She's asking for basic accountability, a simple acknowledgement that Kody made mistakes, a genuine apology, an opening for honest conversation. That's literally it. And apparently even that is too much for Kody to offer. The fact that he couldn't even show up for one final visit before his daughter moved thousands of miles away tells you everything you need to know about his priorities. If there's one moment that perfectly encapsulates Kody's failures as a father, it's the way he handled Isabelle's major scoliosis surgery, and the betrayal still haunts their relationship to this day. Isabelle Brown, Christine's daughter, had battled excruciating pain for years, enduring treatments and bracing in hopes of avoiding surgery, but eventually the surgery became unavoidable. This wasn't some minor procedure, this was major spinal surgery that required traveling from Arizona to New Jersey, and Isabelle wanted her father there. She needed her father there, but Kody had other priorities, and those priorities all lived in Robyn's house. Kody's excuse? COVID. He claimed he couldn't risk traveling with Isabelle and Christine for the surgery because he might contract the virus and bring it back home to Robyn's young children. Let that sink in for a moment. His daughter was about to undergo serious, life-altering surgery, and Kody chose to stay home because he was worried about potentially exposing Robyn's kids to COVID. Not even definitely exposing them, just the mere possibility was enough for him to abandon his daughter during one of the most terrifying moments of her young life. And it gets worse. Kody actually suggested that Christine shouldn't go either, and that if Isabelle absolutely had to have the surgery, she should go alone. A teenager, undergoing major spinal surgery, alone. Christine, being an actual parent, ignored that absolutely insane suggestion and accompanied her daughter, but the damage was done. During an emotional interview that aired during the show, Isabelle tried to process her father's decision with a maturity far beyond her years. Quote, "I think his priorities are a little screwed up," she said, clearly trying to remain respectful despite the hurt. Quote, "And I don't want to disrespect him because he is my dad, and I understand I do. I do understand why he's doing it. It's just really frustrating and really, really hard." The pain in her voice was absolutely devastating. Here was a young woman trying to justify why her father chose not to be there for her, trying to make excuses for him even as her heart was breaking. Fast forward to October 2024, and Kody finally admitted during a Sister Wives episode that not attending Isabelle's surgery was one of his, quote, 2 huge mistakes during the pandemic. Quote, "One of those mistakes was also not going to Isabelle's surgery. And that put some bad blood between a bunch of us," he acknowledged. He even confessed that the whole situation was, quote, "breaking my heart. The whole thing with Isabelle going and doing the surgery and the whole thing with my family and this disparity in behavior during COVID. It's really, really, really hard on our family." Notice how even in his regret, Kody manages to center himself. It's breaking his heart. It's hard on him. Not once does he seem to fully grasp the trauma he inflicted on his daughter. But the betrayal didn't end with the surgery. The long-term effects on their relationship have been catastrophic. When Isabelle prepared to leave for college, she opened up about her relationship with her father in a way that revealed just how distant they'd become. Quote, "I'm going to miss my mom more than I'm going to miss him, I think, because I don't actually think we're close at all. But I mean, he's still my dad," she said with a heartbreaking casualness, as if accepting that her father is essentially a stranger is just normal. And now, Isabelle's fears about her relationship with Kody have only intensified. During a November 2024 episode, she expressed genuine concern that any chance of having a close relationship with her father is, quote, "slowly going away." She admitted she worries that her relationship with Kody will become, quote, "desolate and will not exist anymore." Think about what that means. A young woman in her early 20s is already mourning the loss of a relationship with her living father because she knows deep down that he's never going to show up for her the way she deserves. The surgery was just the beginning. The real damage is the ongoing absence, the continued deprioritization, the constant message that she simply doesn't matter enough. Kody Brown has a favorite excuse for why his relationships with his children have completely imploded, and it's as predictable as it is infuriating. Rather than looking in the mirror and acknowledging his own failures, Kody has decided to blame everyone else. During an October episode, the father of 18 actually had the audacity to claim that, quote, "trash talk and innuendo are the real culprits behind his strained relationships with most of his adult children." According to Kody's twisted logic, it's not his abandonment, his favoritism, or his broken promises that destroyed these bonds. No, it's all because people have been saying mean things about him, and that quote has challenged loyalties and trust on all sides. Let's just pause and appreciate the sheer nerve of that statement. Kody genuinely wants viewers to believe that his children stopped talking to him because of gossip and rumors rather than, actually experiencing his neglect firsthand. He's positioning himself as the victim of a smear campaign rather than accepting that his actions or lack thereof are what drove his kids away. It's a masterclass in deflection, and absolutely nobody is buying it. Well, except maybe Robyn, but she's got her own reasons for supporting that narrative. But here's where Kody's excuse gets absolutely demolished. Mykelti, who, as we've established, tried harder than most to maintain a relationship with her father, shut down his trash talk narrative during a fan question and answer session that took place in October 2024. Her response was shared on the Instagram account at Without a Crystal Ball, and it cut right through Kody's victim complex with surgical precision. Quote, "I think that if he took more accountability in any of his actions, his kids, maybe not all of them, but at least some of them, would reach out," Mykelti explained with a clarity that must have stung. She continued, laying out exactly what the problem is. Quote, "Instead of blaming the children or blaming how they feel about his relationship with his other wife or blaming the parents or blaming gossip or whatever, if he just said, 'Look, I understand I did blank wrong, I'm sorry, can we talk about it?' I feel like that would go such a long way." Notice what Mykelti's describing here. A pattern. Kody blames the children. He blames their feelings about Robyn. He blames the mothers. He blames gossip. He blames literally everyone and everything except himself. And his children are exhausted by it. They're not asking for him to be perfect. They're asking for basic accountability, and he can't even manage that. Christine Brown echoed this sentiment during multiple interviews, and she didn't pull any punches about what Kody needs to do. During an interview with Access Hollywood, Christine made her position brutally clear. When asked about Kody's attempts to make amends, she stated firmly, quote, "When he fixed his relationships with his kids, that's when I'll accept the apology. She went on to give Kody a roadmap for what actual reconciliation looks like. Quote, take care of your kids, reach out to your kids, call them, spend time with them, and work on that relationship. But then Christine dropped the real truth bomb that exposed why Kody's excuses ring so hollow. Quote, actions have to happen, not just words. My kids are heartbroken, even the ones who talk about how they've moved on, they've accepted this is their dad, this is what he does, but I can't imagine what it's like for my kids to not have a great relationship with their dad, she explained. There it is. Actions, not words. Not excuses about trash talk. Not blame shifting about innuendo and gossip. Actual tangible actions that demonstrate he cares about his children. The problem for Kody is that taking accountability would require him to admit that he made serious mistakes. It would require him to acknowledge that his favoritism toward Robyn and her children was real and damaging. It would require him to accept that prioritizing one wife's household while neglecting others had devastating consequences. And based on everything we've seen, Kody simply isn't capable of that level of honest self-reflection. It's easier to blame trash talk than to face the uncomfortable truth that he failed his children, and they remember every single moment of that failure. So he keeps pushing the same tired narrative while his kids keep their distance, and the gap between them grows wider with each passing day. Kody Brown has drawn a line in the sand when it comes to Kody, and she's not backing down until he proves he's worthy of forgiveness. The mother of 6 has made it absolutely crystal clear that any hope Kody has of receiving her acceptance or moving past their painful history hinges entirely on one non-negotiable condition. He needs to fix his relationships with their children first. Not maybe, not eventually, first. And until that happens, Christine is holding firm on her position, refusing to let Kody off the hook for the damage he's caused to an entire generation of Brown kids. During an interview with Access Hollywood, Christine laid out her ultimatum in terms so direct that there's absolutely no room for misinterpretation. When asked about Kody's attempts to make amends for his past behavior throughout season 20 of Sister Wives, Christine didn't hesitate. Quote, when he fixed his relationships with his kids, that's when I'll accept the apology, she stated with a firmness that made it clear this isn't up for negotiation. She's not interested in his excuses. She's not moved by his new house or his claims of wanting to reconcile. None of that matters until he actually does the work with his children. But Christine didn't stop there. She went on to give Kody a detailed blueprint for what genuine reconciliation actually looks like, because apparently the man needs it spelled out for him. Quote, take care of your kids, reach out to your kids, she instructed with the patience of someone explaining something incredibly obvious. Quote, call them, spend time with them, and work on that relationship. It's not complicated. It's not some impossible task. It's basic parenting. Pick up the phone. Make the effort. Show up consistently, be present. These are things that fathers are supposed to do naturally, but for Kody, Christine has to literally outline the steps. Then came the statement that really drives home why Christine's ultimatum is so powerful. Quote, actions have to happen, not just words, she emphasized, and that right there is the crux of the entire problem. Kody is great at talking about wanting to reconcile. He's excellent at making grand statements about keeping doors open for his children. He can wax poetic about his new house being a place where his kids can visit. But when it comes to actual action, when it comes to consistently showing up, making phone calls, attending important events, and putting in the daily work that relationships require, he falls short every single time. Christine went on to describe the heartbreak that Kody's failures have caused, and her words painted a devastating picture of the emotional toll on the Brown children. Quote, my kids are heartbroken, even the ones who talk about how they've moved on. They've accepted this is their dad, this is what he does. But I can't imagine what it's like for my kids to not have a great relationship with their dad, she shared. Think about what that means. Even the children who have seemingly made peace with Kody's inadequacy, who have accepted that this is just who their father is, are still carrying deep pain. They've had to grieve the father they deserved while he's still alive, and that's a unique kind of trauma. Christine's relationship with her own father makes this situation even more poignant. She's revealed in interviews that her relationship with her dad is, quote, one of my favorite relationships, which means she knows exactly what her children are missing. She understands the joy and security that comes from having a father who shows up, who prioritizes you, who makes you feel valued and loved. And watching her own children be denied that experience by a man who is perfectly capable of being a good father, he just chooses not to be for most of his kids. That has to be absolutely excruciating for Christine. But here's what makes Christine's ultimatum so powerful and so necessary. She's not asking Kody to do anything extraordinary. She's asking him to do the bare minimum of being a parent. Call your kids, spend time with them, show up for important moments, take accountability when you mess up. These are basic expectations, not impossible demands. And by making her acceptance contingent on Kody meeting these basic standards, Christine is essentially saying that words mean nothing without action. Apologies mean nothing without change. And until Kody demonstrates through consistent, tangible actions that he's willing to prioritize his children, he doesn't deserve forgiveness from her or anyone else. So here we are, back at that $2 million mansion that was supposed to fix everything. Kody's grand solution to decades of neglect and favoritism sits there in all its 6-bedroom glory, complete with a guest house and RV garage, and the harsh reality is absolutely brutal. Nobody's coming. His adult children have made it devastatingly clear through their words and their actions that they don't care about his fancy new house or his so-called fresh start. Square footage doesn't heal broken relationships. Amenities don't replace years of missed birthdays and broken promises. And a bigger kitchen doesn't erase the memory of watching your father prioritize one family over everyone else. Gabriel exposed perhaps the most painful truth during a dinner with his siblings that was captured on the show. He revealed that Kody once told him he only cares about his minor children. Let that sink in. Once his kids turn 18 and become adults, they're essentially disposable in Kody's eyes. Now that the vast majority of his children have aged out of his so-called care window, they're just expected to fend for themselves while Kody focuses on Robyn's younger kids who still live at home. Garrison, who was also at that dinner and equally estranged from his father, backed up Gabriel's claim completely. He shared that since the last time he'd spoken to Kody, he'd gotten into school, purchased a home, and bought a new car. His father knew nothing about any of these major life milestones because he simply didn't care enough to stay involved. The new house sits as a monument to Kody's fundamental misunderstanding of what his children actually need from him. They don't need more space to visit, they need a father who shows up. They don't need a dedicated room that's, quote, sort of theirs. They need genuine prioritization and consistent effort. They don't need Kody's fantasy of reconciliation on his terms. They need accountability, apologies, and actual change. Janelle summed it up perfectly when she said there's, quote, no contact really with Mary or Robyn or Kody among most of the children, and she doesn't foresee that changing anytime soon. The truth is that Kody built his dream house for a family that no longer exists. His children have moved on with their lives, building relationships with their mothers and with each other while leaving their father on the outside looking in. Madison's raising her kids without him. Gabriel refuses to answer his calls. Paydon hasn't spoken to him since Garrison's funeral. Mykelti moved across the country without a goodbye. Isabelle has accepted that their relationship will likely never be close. And all of this happened not because the old house had bad memories, but because Kody made choices that broke his children's hearts over and over again. No amount of real estate can fix that. The house nobody wants to visit will remain exactly that until Kody finally accepts that brick and mortar can't replace being an actual father. So what do you think? Will Kody ever take real accountability for his actions, or is this new house just another empty gesture? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe because trust me, the next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.